Hi, this is Jim again with BikeFixTips.com, and today I want to show you how to make your own truing stand at home using just your bike and a couple zip ties. Not a lot of people have a truing stand at home, and this is a good way to get by without having one, or without having to take it to a bike shop and spend a lot of money to have your rim trued. Anyways, all you need are a couple zip ties about this length. Could be a little bit longer. Actually, the longer the better, because you can always trim it down. But if they're too short, what you can do is also double them up. And I will double these up just to show you as an example in case your zip ties aren't long enough. What I'm doing is I'm wrapping a zip tie around the fork, the fork tubes. And if you have a fat fork tube, then a shorter zip tie will be just enough, if not enough, just to make it around the fork. But when you double up the zip ties, then you'll have plenty of slack to touch the end of the zip tie to the rim. That's the main objective, just like a truing stand. And you can do the same thing with the back tire also. Just use the back triangle for your frame. The only problem is you'll have to worry about working with the chain getting in the way, but you can still get it done. I broke a spoke on my rim, so I thought this would be a good time to show you how to make your own truing stand. But anyways, you take a couple zip ties, and this is in case you have a shorter zip ties. Just connect one to each other, as if you're going to make a circle. And tighten, after you get it around the fork tube, tighten the other one. And you want to tighten this one. I do about halfway on both sides. Anyways, so now that you have it on both sides, what you want to do is find out where on the fork is perfectly lined up with the wall of the rim. And you want to do the zip ties on both sides of the fork. That way you can get that midpoint down where the middle of the fork is. And that's your center alignment for the rim. Okay. Now that I have both zip ties on here, just tighten them snug so they don't move around a whole lot. And now this zip tie you can just fine tune and adjust so it's barely touching the rim wall. Once it's barely touching the rim wall, leave it at that point and do the same for the other side. And you can also trim down these zip ties if they are just too long. You can trim it down. You can cut them at an angle so you have a very fine tip on one end. Like this one is a little bit long and I'm getting caught with my brake cables, so I'm going to cut it down a little bit shorter. There we go. That one is just long enough. And then I still have room to play, so the finer I get, the closer I can move these towards the center point of that fork. Anyways, once you have them barely touching the rim, I would pull them back just slightly so they're not touching. Give the rim a quick spin, see at which point is the most out of alignment, and then back out the zip ties accordingly so they're barely touching at any location. And then you just work your way in slowly. And once you get it down to the point where it's almost aligned, you can fine tune it by getting it just close enough so they're barely touching. And then you can see them wobbling slowly. So once you find that spot that's hitting the zip tie, like right here for instance, these three spokes will probably need to be tightened and loosened accordingly to make that rim adjust. And you can Google on how to true a rim, but just a quick overview of how to true a rim is you notice the spokes, they rotate, going left, going right, going left, going right. What you want to probably start doing by loosening up all your spokes so they're all really loose, so the rim is pretty much just hanging there by the spokes. Then slowly tighten every one of them until they're all about snug. But I would probably turn them equally all around the rim. probably a half turn or a whole turn every time. So it's a long, tedious process. But over time, what you want to do is just get this pretty to the point where they're kind of snug, and then at that point, then you can start tuning each spoke accordingly. So let's say this rim is bent this way, and I want it to go this way. This spoke I want to loosen because it's going to the left, but I want it to go to the right. So I loosen this one and tighten these two that are adjacent to this one. Because what it'll do is it'll pull this rim to the right, because that's the way you want it to go. And then you just do that everywhere along the rim, slowly but surely. And I do probably like half turn each, and then just go around the rim and work on the worst section first and work it way down to the least bent part. And then eventually you'll get it trued enough to the point where you won't even notice the wobble in the wheel. And hopefully you'll get so good at it, then it'll be a perfectly trued rim. And then you'll no longer have to spend $100 at the bike shop. Anyways, hopefully this will help you out in truing your own rim at home, and hope to see you again on the next video.